Well, let's start out with what we're about. It's right over there on the wall. Together, please. Living, loving, learning, spirituality that works. And our month theme from Centers for Spiritual Living is revealing wholeness, which is something we choose to do every day, yes? And today is about seeing with the eye of the heart. And how many of you remember the book, The Little Prince? Love The Little Prince, right? And now, here is my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. We are learning to see from the essence of our being. We are learning to see through every appearance to the essence of other people's real, authentic self. And that's something that is making a difference in our own lives. It's a much happier way to be than to be reacting to appearances and temporary behaviors. It's so much more fulfilling and so much more peaceful and sweeter to connect with somebody on the deepest level, no matter what's going on. And we can do that. And when we do that, we're really living our divine purpose. We can see the wholeness when we look beyond the appearances, whether it's within a person, whether it's within ourselves, because I think sometimes we're the worst critics of ourselves, right? I mean, we sometimes have opinions about other people. Anybody here ever have opinions about other people? But sometimes the most negative ones are about ourselves, and we better stop that, okay? Just stop that. I'm speaking to all of us. When we see the wholeness, we no longer are judging the partiality. We no longer believe in separation. We're aware of our unity with the beloved within us all, our unity with the love that is the reality of each and every one of us. Our perception determines our experience. We're really getting to know that, aren't we? That this world, when we speak about the quantum field, it responds to our expectations. The observer is not just the observer of what's going on in the world, even scientifically, but actually is influencing it. It's been proven. It's wonderful to realize that, as Ernest Holmes said 100 years ago or more, what a day it will be when religion and science walk together hand in hand. And it's a wonderful realization that our perceptions actually create our reality. There's this wonderful law of mind that is right there, cannot be separated from, is a part of the whole, and is the way that the love of God operates. And Ernest said, court the presence and direct the law. And it's from this powerful place of love that we're able to formulate a new idea, that we're able to bring a new spiritual concept into our consciousness, and then to turn it over to the law of mind and watch it reveal itself in our world. Because our expectation becomes our self-fulfilling prophecy, doesn't it? And our willingness to see the truth allows the appearance to evaporate, and something more real and more authentic and more eternal and more lasting can begin to emerge. You love John O'Donohue? I love John O'Donohue. His book, Anamkara. You know what Anamkara means? Celtic? Soul friend. Soul friend. What a beautiful concept for us to be soul friends. Not just, hi, how are you? What'd you have for dinner last night? Soul friends. I care about you. Kara? Must be something about caring and love. John O'Donohue speaks about the eye and the different kinds of vision that we have. He says, to the fearful eye, all is threatening. To the greedy eye, everything can be possessed. To the judgmental eye, everything is closed in definite frames. To the resentful eye, everything is begrudged. That's a nice way to feel, isn't it? To the indifferent eye, nothing calls or awakens. To the inferior eye, everything is greater. To the loving eye, everything is real. Everything is real. We get to get a glimpse of heaven right here on earth when we are seeing from the loving eye. And we can go beyond, see beyond people's shenanigans. I have a friend whose husband passed away a couple of months ago, and he had a lot of shenanigans. He did. And she loved him dearly. And she said to me, I understand why he had shenanigans. And I was able to see who he always really, really was. And it was so beautiful. She was so at peace with it all. See, from the inner place of sacred love, our hearts experience oneness. From that holy place of sacred love within us all, there's no longer a duality. There's no longer a separation. There's no longer any concern or fearfulness about someone being different. We delight in celebrating unity in multiplicity. We see that underlying everything and everyone is this holy ground of divine love. And once we touch that, the rest of it hardly matters. Hardly matters. We don't want to give power to reacting to something that sounded unlovely. Let's learn how to let that just roll off. Because something happens. Something truly happens, makes a difference, changes a whole relationship when one person is willing to change the script. Maybe they've been fussing for years. But like two actors on the stage who know their lines, what happens when one of them suddenly comes up with new lines? The other one goes, or gets really clever and ad-libs and jumps in. But when one person changes his or her approach, it gives the other person freedom to change theirs as well. It's disarming. I remember when I was in college, we had a visitor, a guest speaker, who was in the peace movement. And he told the story of the time that he was in San Francisco at a peace and nonviolence conference, and he left the hotel where it was held to go back to his hotel, and it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And as he's walking back to his hotel, a person approaches him with a gun and says, just give me your money. And he said, I'll give you all the money I have, which is about $2, but you can have it. But you know what? You look hungry. And there's an all-night taco stand over here. Why don't you and I go over there and get something to eat? And they did. And this desperate young man ultimately began to work with him with the peace movement. Love is courageous. Love is willing to see the wholeness beyond the part. Love might think it's feeling threatened for a moment, but it's not going to stay there because it is able to look through. It is able to connect, to find that place of unity within what appears to be a difficult situation. Love is disarming, and in this case, it was literally disarming, wasn't it? So from that place of inner sacred love, our hearts experience the oneness. And it's catching, It really is. We can't fear when we see God in each other. Wouldn't that be a more wonderful place to live, from a place of love and acceptance and appreciation than fearfulness and anxiety? I had a friend years ago. He and I would walk the streets of San Francisco on the way to, it's here somewhere, on the way to opera or symphony, and he and his partner were dear, dear friends of mine, and I would often go to these musical events with Ed, and we'd park in the worst parts of town according to what people's opinions were, and we would walk to the War Memorial Opera House or to the Davies Symphony Hall, and he was convinced the reason that we never, in all the years that we did this, never had a problem was that he had this big mustache, and he was tall, and he didn't smile walking down the street. Whereas I was convinced that the reason we always had a wonderful time was that I made eye contact with people and smiled at them. I was told the first time, years and years and years ago, that I was going to New York that I should never make eye contact with anyone. Can you imagine? And people will often smile back, and sometimes they'll be surprised that you are caring enough to make some kind of contact with them, but do it feels wonderful. Going back to what John O'Donohue says about the eyes, I realize that we cannot be greedy when we know that all is already given. There's enough for everybody. We don't have to grab, it's all there. And we want the best for other people as well as for ourselves, yes? We can't judge when we're open to a greater vision. We can't feel resentful when we're experiencing joy. We can't see great or small when we recognize our unity with all life. See, we're learning to see from the powerful place of the heart. And we recognize that what we truly want is not the love of power, but the power of love, because it is greater than any power in the universe and beyond. And it's right where we are, and it is ours to use. So it's time to choose not to react with negative emotion or fear or anxiety in any situation whatsoever. It's time to choose to remember God's presence within each person and within every situation. The best teachers that I know are the ones who acknowledge the potential within the student that the student doesn't yet even see him or herself. Those are the greatest teachers because they draw forth the greatness from the child or from an adult. That person, that divine being, that beautiful creation of God, like all of you sitting right here this morning, you have within you the greatest potential to make your life the most beautiful heaven on earth, and then to extend that consciousness to others who come into your world. It's a wonderful power, and it's a wonderful realization. Humanity is in great transition right now. It's in great transition. And we have an opportunity to see all the extreme diversity of opinions and ways of being as expressions of oneness. With compassion, with empathy, we can see that our lives are intertwined with everyone, no exceptions, with everyone, and that everybody counts and that everybody matters. The light of love is inviting this divine essence within us all to emerge. O'Donohue also says, the loving eye sees through and beyond image and effects the deepest change. That's the greatest news, is that it is effecting change. So let's watch the transformation that occurs. Let's expect it. Let's look for it, and let's co-create it. It's one of the greatest spiritual practices that I know. And like the children, rather than looking for the eye underneath the ponytail, they can find it within their own hearts, and we can find it within ours. Will you say with me, I consciously choose to see from the eye of my heart I perceive the essence of love within myself. I celebrate the essence of love everywhere. And so, my beloveds, beginneth our lesson.